Namaskar, everybody. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi, and it's an absolute pleasure to invite you all onto a conversation that Sanjay Muthal and I will have. Two of us talking Zindagi. We will begin in just a few moments. I want you to relax. Pick yourself a cuppa, a cup of coffee or tea, and engage with us as we discover, rediscover nooks in our life to discover what are the things that made us who we are. Settle down just in a few minutes. Sanjay Muthal and I will be live with you, talking Zindagi. Namaskar. Good evening. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi, and it's an absolute pleasure to host you this evening. This conversation is called Two of Us. Two of Us talking Zindagi. I have these conversations each Saturday at 5:30 p.m. The idea is simple. All of us are caught. We want to do a lot of stuff, right? Especially in this time. We got a lot of deliverables, very little time, a lot of time. We are at different places. Countless webinars, countless ways of finding more productivity. This talk, this series is more about a pause, looking into what are the nooks in our life and what can we discover from those nooks and some amazing things that we can take away from ourselves, for ourselves. So today I'm going to be in a conversation with Sanjay Muthal, and as he and I chat over a coffee, a cuppa. I'll have coffee, I'll check what he's going to have. So you settle down with your cuppa and let's engage in a conversation. स्वागत है संजय, स्वागत है आपका.
Namaskar. Good evening.
नमस्कार. स्वागत है.
Thank you so much.
So what's it going to be for you?
Cheers, chai. This is my cup of tea.
And what chai do you drink?
Made so patti wali chai. It's made of milk and sugar, and so normal. I used to
Kadak
have
chai.
Little kadak chai. Yeah. This time I need little kadak chai.
So I have a set of friends. When we talk to them about chai, they say it's not chai, it is tea. It has to be Darjeeling and with a spot milk. And मैं नॉर्थ का हूँ और मैं जब दिल्ली में था उतनी चाय नहीं पीता था. बीच में in between my there used to be in college time I used to drink tea, and it used to be regular, मतलब उबाल के.
Correct.
But so I have developed a taste for the Darjeelings of the world too.
Okay.
But Kadak chai has got a different maza, isn't it?
When you are in the boardroom, then you need to use such words, Darjeeling tea, and give me a tea separate and milk separate. But core of you is the tapri chai.
Tapri.
The tapri chai that one really, really enjoys, and especially if it is now rainy season, go to Worli Seaface and have a cup of chai. Tapri chai, it's a bliss. I mean, no, you can't express that in words. It's absolutely bliss.
What नागपुर बचपन कहाँ? नागपुर के आसपास?
So I was born in Nagpur, but grew up in my village, which is about 90 odd kilometers from Nagpur. So we come from a farming background.
Hmm.
Grandfather had a lot of lands. So we had fields and we used to grow. Now I'm saying we used to grow because mine is third generation. Oranges, and gehu, and groundnuts, and cotton, what have you. So pretty prosperous in terms of the farming was then.
Hmm.
So I grew up in at least fourth standard in village school, uh, which is which very very surprising, and I really feel proud in sharing this. When the cow sheds, when the cows used to go for grazing during the day, our school used to take place there before they come off. So by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock will be chutti time, and you go back, and you actually sat on those mats down with the I can use word as aroma of a cow dung getting into your nostrils. I still feel nostalgic about it, but that's where, and purely Marathi medium schools. Uh, in the interiors of our country, the schools are run by what is called as Jila Parishad, equivalent of a municipal school in metro cities,
Hmm.
something of that sort. So that's where the journey began.
So Sanjay,
Anji.
this is, that they have the saying that till cows come home, we'll
Yeah.
argue till cows come home. This is the first time that I'm Vanakkam John Christie. First time that I'm getting a reference like this, and I have. So this is amazing, like I had never ever heard of this, and I'm sure some people have or some people haven't. But it has just now, what strikes me right now. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, for the viewers, just to let you know that if there is a hiss where Sanjay is speaking, we have not been able to find out why that hiss keeps coming and returning. We won't bother about that. I'm hearing something there. Okay, it's coming in and out. We don't know. Don't know. Okay. But this is such an amazing thing. That time, Sanjay,
Yep.
was it a huge challenge?
It wasn't a challenge because your world was limited. Your
Exactly.
worldview was limited. You know,
Exactly.
absolutely.
This something is so interesting. I'm telling you right now, I was not aware of this. I have never ever heard this before. Not that one hasn't heard, but I've never heard this example. Now, it just struck me. Had anyone told me about this kind of a thing, I would have painted a picture with how less. But imagine if that is the only thing.
Absolutely.
So it's isn't it odd that the story of less that we have in our head is only less when in comparison with something else, and when there isn't anything, it's it. So we have less stories about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I studied under the lanterns. Those
Lanterns,
lanterns
yes.
that they carry. So fun time, and when your reference is there,
Hmm.
then when you go out to the world, then the reference becomes so solid and binding
Hmm.
that nothing then shakes you. You know, we talk about ups and downs and so on and so forth,
Hmm.
because you know where you began is your roots. And if those roots are strong, it's amazing, Ashish. I mean, when I go to my village now, of course, it's changed multifold now. The negative impact of cities have come in there and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
But after 6 p.m., there used to be no life virtually.
Sure.
One had to go the routine of evening prayers and all that with grandparents. Period. After that, you now knocked off to sleep. That's it. By 8 p.m., everybody's dead. Something like that. So even when
and
I
and,
came to,
and that was the way to be.
that was the way to be.
It
And
was not
so
that one didn't have a choice, and then that was the way to be.
it was the way to be. One had some privileges because you came from so-called little affluence within that limited context. So you
Sure.
would have a domestic help, and I remember my domestic help. He would make me sit on the shoulder and take me to school, his shoulder, and bring me back from the school. So there were some privileges of those sort. And the best vehicle to go around was the bullock cart. When I grew up, I mean, when I was born, our village did not have even the state transport bus. So you had to go by a bullock cart up to 7 kilometers away, where there
Sure.
was a Pakka road, and you catch a ST bus and go to Nagpur. So amazing, but it helped me to remain grounded in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I really, really take away from the childhood.
So it's so interesting. You see, I grew up in Delhi, and I was doing theater from a very early
Yes,
age. And one of the key things about theater is that you can do everything. Okay, you can mop the floor, and you can assist in the setting. You can
yeah,
paint the wall. You to go and clean the toilets if needed, because you're going to a new place to do a play, and it's not clean. And so one thing very interesting about theater was that, uh, not as a concept, as to valuing. No, please excuse us. Some sound is coming, but please excuse us. Uh, do you at all hear anything, Sanjay, from your end?
no, from my side, nothing absolutely clear. And
Okay. Okay. There is some grating sound. Anyway, so this we've been getting since we are doing the trial, but we'll just go with it. So what I'm saying is that theater gave me the ability to be comfortable on the floor, sitting on the floor, and I remember when we used to go from Delhi to different cities to perform. Of course, it was a second class ticket, and most of them we had four or five reserved things. The rest of us traveled unreserved, and we sat by the window, by the door, and that, if remember the Indian railway, the toilet is right by it, and with its aroma, and we would just be, of course this should not be done, but just to share with you, it used to be so hot, we used to just open the door and just sit there with our, should not be done again. But what I mean to say is, those were moments of joy, those were not moments of pain. We never felt कि देखो हम कितने ऐसी situation है. Theater made me realize one thing, and somewhere I I hear your reference too. Ah, okay, this sound is coming back, but let's make the most of it. Theater made me realize one thing, Sanjay, that it got me so used to that I can do anything. I don't. Everything since then has been a plus.
right.
Everything since then has been a plus. And so, is that something, how you would say what grounded means?
Yes, because when your world is this much and then you expand it, then you always know that your world was only this much, and now you're expanding it, and therefore, as I said, the reference still remains on the world that you were kind of grew up. And all of us know that the first 6 to 7 years of your childhood is what kind of makes you what you ultimately become in terms of persona and personality. So your parents, your grandparents, your first teachers, and so on and so forth. Uh, so even coming to from my village to Nagpur, Nagpur was like a mega city for me. First few months, although I came and came to parents, it just overawed me. I used to think, my God, how do people live in such kind of place? There are vehicles moving around, and I had instructions, cross the road safely, and blah blah blah. And so the reality of bigger city, as it were, dawned to me then. But somewhere, Ashish, I mean, coming to your point, I think if your again, if your reference to context is a limited and a is very holistic, in places like
Mm.
villages, you never heard some uh, words like somebody has fooled somebody. There is a deceit. There
Mm.
is there is what you say, non-compliance. There is everybody had simple living, simple
Rules.
needs. Poor
Yes.
people, uh, they they did what they said. They obeyed. They never looked back at you and questioned and so on and so forth. So the worldview was that, oh, this is the world which is full of possibilities. This is a world which is full of good people. This is a world which is full of people who love you, something
Mm.
like that. But when you get my own reference is when you get into higher classes, get into more structured form of education, as it were, that's when the mind starts little bit. Uh, the reference to context starts changing, and metro cities or bigger cities, metro cities, what they bring to you is a comparison point. You versus me, he versus she, and so on and so forth. So
Also, aspirational draws become, they look like, yes, that person not too far from me has it. Can I not have it?
yeah, yeah,
So it's an interesting thing that, a few years back, I was at the TMTC doing a piece with them on ethics. And we used Jatak tales for that. All right.
yeah.
And so I began with just a few narrations of certain stories from Jatak tales. And as, as we did those references, I would begin the story and then they would complete it because they had all heard the stories.
Yeah.
So those stories we have heard before, right? Be it the tortoise and the any of these tales that we have heard of, growing up, we all remember them.
That's right.
Stories on wisdom, stories on not to cheat, stories on telling the truth, of togetherness, the five twigs, and then them coming together and stuff like that. And I asked a question. I said, at which point in our childhood, when we graduated from childhood, went to school, college, and thereon, which point did we say to ourselves, it's all right not to comply with the things that we were taught when we were a child? And at which point did it become okay? At which point did we see others do things like that and said that they are
Right.
getting away with it, so can we?
That's a
Yeah.
question for me.
Now I'm just kind of thinking aloud.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, before I go there, I had this question for you.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
I somewhere read that you were actually born in Kerala, right?
No, no, that is Wikipedia doing its bit on me. I'm born in
So
Delhi.
you're born in
Wikipedia
Delhi.
has put me there, and so very much born in Delhi, but born in Delhi in Karol Bagh, and then grew up in the suburbs of Delhi, which Delhi at that point would love to disown. It was a place called Lakshmi Nagar. It was Trans Yamuna, but
Okay.
yes, it was part of one of the unrecognized irregular, no, what is it called, non-regularized colonies, Lakshmi Nagar, Shakarpur. And
Okay.
it had its uh, it was very difficult, in Delhi that time. If somebody said you're from Delhi and then you say I'm from Delhi and then you say I'm from Lakshmi Nagar, then people will say, oh, Jamna Bar. Jamna Bar was like that. So yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
thing that I wanted to share and ask you is that all the stuff that we may have learned in childhood through fables or through stories that elders may have told us, At which point did we start saying that it's okay to break those rules? It's okay to cheat. It's okay to have shortcuts.
Very interesting. I think when you start getting, we have a very funny words that the reference points in the society are, this kid is very smart.
Hmm.
What do you mean by smart? Smart means he is able to judge the next person very well. Now,
Hmm.
this when there is a judgmental thing happens, and being judgmental is the most detrimental to any relationship
Hmm.
because we assume certain things about somebody without knowing that person or without finding the truths about him.
Hmm.
I think somewhere there. So I would say, uh, classically, when you are getting around SSC,
Hmm.
ninth, 10th standard, is when the mental corruption started, at least for me. Uh, so, for example, we were a bunch of friends, 10, 11 of us in ninth standard. 10 of them started smoking. I somehow remained aloof. I mean, I didn't smoke. I still don't smoke, but I'm not saying that was a bad thing. But conceptually, or from the context of the society then you would
Hmm.
say, "Arey, bachche smoke kar rahe." So they would smoke very, very, what do you say, sheepishly somewhere else, and then come back and wipe their face and eat something so that it doesn't smell. Things like
Hmm.
that. Now, those are smaller, smaller things that you started thinking
Hmm.
are things that kind of make you ये चलता है अभी ठीक है
Hmm.
घर जाके you just kind of start fooling and say
Hmm.
that नहीं नहीं मैंने तो किया ही नहीं है. I had a very
Hmm.
interesting, and I kind of learned that if you recollect, I think early, very early, there was a movie called as Jawani Diwani,
Hmm.
Ranbir Kapoor, and so I used to go for some extra class and things like that.
Hmm.
So friend of mine and me bunked the class and went to see this movie.
Okay.
And and in the interval, somebody knocked from behind. That
Hmm.
was my friend's parents, and they, they incidentally were also our neighbors. So you can imagine what would have happened that evening at home. But my dad told me that time that watching, of course, watching movie was then taboo because you could watch once in 6 months and things like that. But he said, if you ever did that, please come back and say. So
Hmm.
that was a big lesson for me that if you do something, if you commit something which is not permissible, from parent side, go and share. And to that extent, I had a very supporting parents. They did acknowledge what if something that was not permissible, I did.
So that's very interesting, Sanjay. I mean, for me, I've felt that the more things that are kept at taboo and referred to as taboo, uh, more people are doing it but not talking about it. All right,
Absolutely.
and and
Absolutely.
uh, and if even if we look at it in today's day and age, uh, whatever that you say taboo is in a way something which you don't believe in. All right, you think shouldn't be there.
Yeah. I can't hear you.
So whatever you say is a taboo is something which you know you think that it should not be there, but it is there. And the
Yeah.
moment some people will know that it's a taboo and that they are doing it, that's when the lies start.
Yeah.
And for me, just imagine now growing up. I mean, like smoking is one aspect of it. Uh, just consider pushing boundaries, pushing boundaries, and it could be anywhere. It could be innovation, it could be new ideas, it could be new ways to live. It begins with your willingness to actually step into certain areas which are otherwise considered taboo. And how would it
Yeah.
be actually
Yeah.
if we actually look at each of our lives and see that from the place from where we started, yawns back to where we are today, we have actually pushed boundaries.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. True. 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 I'm sure in your career, and we have talked about it, you're uh, getting off at Borivali station, and the rest is history, as it were. And your first experience that you had shared with me, it may be interesting for audience to know that somebody signed you and then that next day said that, oh, sorry, we are taking up somebody else. It was very, very interesting. So the world that one entered from the context that one came was different. And to cope up with that, some of these, people call it loosely tricks of the trade and so on and so forth, which is actually a negative connotation that one starts probably succumbing to. And that is the that is the stage of little bit of a danger is what I feel. Uh, and in our case, Ashish, unfortunately, world is changing now. Lot of our norms are decided by the not you, but there are societal norms. You're supposed to behave like this. You're supposed to look like this. You're supposed to have good jobs. Then you're supposed to have good house, whatever. Now these are kind of societal norms on the track that you continue to drive. If
On
you
the
are
track.
this side, yeah, if you are this side or that side, then you are called names. ये
Hmm.
तो एकदम ही लफंगा है, ये कुछ नहीं कर रहा है, इसका
Hmm.
मतलब घर में बैठा है और ये कुछ ज्यादा के ये शो ऑफ कर रहा है, ये something like that. Now I think somewhere you need to, I'm not saying go off track, but you need to find out what is your track. Is that your track? Is that something that you want to do, or is that something you don't want to do? Because
So here
for
is a
me,
question. I'm
yeah,
just kind of just a thought. Now imagine, I mean, just look at us where we are today.
yeah,
None of us know where we are going at this point. None of us know. I don't know about you, but I'm very clear.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So if we are uh, if we are really clear that we do not know where we are going, I find, the thing that find is that all that I may have done in the past, I may have to rethink.
Yeah,
And there is a distinction. I want to make a distinction between. I'm not saying that doing it any which way. You know what I mean. Any which way. What I really mean is that how and what that I'm doing, I will need to alter my fixed way of thinking for that. And if you look at even your journey from that village kid, who used to study in a cowshed, to when you move to Nagpur and then later on you move to Bombay and whatever that else that you have done in your career, isn't it true that the new world at all points showed you paths which you earlier did not even know existed?
very true, very true, very true. And you know, unfortunately, our times, Ashish, we were, it was a not connected world. Information was extremely limited,
Hmm.
and therefore choices were limited in that sense. Now you may say it was good or it was bad. Jury is still
Was
out there.
was pain also limited? Because now with so much choices, I think
Pain
there's
was
more pain.
certainly very limited,
Such a
very
lot of
limited.
comparison happens now thanks to social media and thanks to
Absolutely
people around.
correct, correct, correct. You know, I'm sure other day we saw the unfortunate incident of or what's his name, Shant
Yep.
Singh, with some 5.7 million fans, you're still lonely. That's a kind of a paradox in the world that one is living with. Uh, so you're right in the sense when you your world is small, needs are small, and therefore, to me at least, happiness quotient was much higher when needs become bigger, higher. Uh, the quest for that starts increasing, and in the process, sometimes you do things which you are not originally about.
Beautiful. So here is an interesting one. You see, my father used to share something very interesting, and it's funnily that I've had that a similar conversation with my son. My father said that each home um gifts the child gifts. The each home has a way. All right. So as you step out into the world, you are an emissary of that world from the home who steps out. And the world gives you many opportunities, and it also kind of pulls you here and there.
Yeah,
And how strong an ambassador are you of where your origins are from? So you will be successful there because you are in continuous conversations with the world out there. But
correct.
somewhere, that who you are from family, as she comes out, a part of that is in everything that you do.
Absolutely. Okay. That's your framework for the
Yeah.
world view.
Aha.
That's your framework. So your world view is always from that screen that you came from the family.
Hmm.
Somehow, again, as you said in the big sometime back, in the razzmatazz of so-called competitive world, so-called dog eats dog world, that framework starts getting little bit blurred, one side, other
Hmm.
side, little bit here. Now if that context you're not polishing it off and coming back to original, then over a period of time that framework starts changing.
That
Why
starts disintegrating.
that's disintegrating. Now see,
So,
all of us, most of us rather, come from middle class background. What are the
yeah.
values that parents teach us? Respect elders, tell the truth, you know, uh, and likewise. But when, like you said, when we come to the world, somewhere, in some cases, this gets completely blurred, and you have something that you start doing, which actually originally you are not supposed to do.
Hmm.
And so grounding is on grounding in the family values is something that we really need to put a lot of effort and nurture those. But if you see, Ashish, those values were imbibed by us in a way because the people who created those values, aka parents, were walking those talks.
Ah.
And therefore, you knew that, yeah, if he says something, he's doing something. There was an integrity in that behavior. Somehow, with the world that we live in today, that integrity sometimes gets disturbed.
Hmm.
Smaller conversations. You have a small child, somebody calls you on the phone, and you say, tell that child, tell Papa is not at home. So he says, Uncle, Papa is saying he's not at home, innocently. When the phone is kept down, you spank that child and say that तुमको बोला था मैंने मैं घर में नहीं हूँ. From his thought process, he starts thinking that this is in order. Even my father is doing the same thing. Now from and somewhere that is what kind of, to my limited understanding, started happening
Hmm.
when the village base came to cities and cities came to metro cities, from a joint family, grounded. roots. You came to nucleus family, and then you went into the world, which was very competitive, which was which was decided by the norms that were set by society, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
Is something that Quest still keeps in my mind.
Yeah.
And the other
And
folly,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, so beautifully. Now here is something which I have always felt that, consider at a point we had our families, okay, a family and what we were brought up with. Now what do? We don't have them, okay. Now we have become the elders. We are finding
Correct.
now. For me, friends have played an extraordinary role in my life, because they mind me. They mind me because I have long stopped listening to my elders because they are too old. All right, now I am the older one, so I have to be minded by someone. So I, therefore, if you notice that you and I, this conversation today is an extension of the conversation that you and I keep having over the years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, what is the role of friendships in such a time who mind people, who say, hey, listen, I got it that you are doing it. I got it that you have seen others doing it, better not.
Absolutely,
How important do you
absolutely.
think is the role of friendship in this? Especially when we have
Oh,
become professionals, we are well known, etc.
it's an extremely important role that friends play in life. Some of them take role of a mentor, some
Yep.
of them take role of counselor, and some of them take role of pure friend.
Hmm.
Who's available to a beck and call. And I must thank the Almighty. I'm blessed with huge friendship network. I mean, my external connected world is extremely large, and I really enjoy friends. But in that also, you'll have some 7, 8 of them that you constantly kind of engage with, and so they become your reference checkpoints.
Ah,
And good fortune is, if they are really well meaning to you, which I am fortunately to have, they really help you maneuver your way, monitor yourself from situation to situation. And I think that's really really beautiful part of the world, because as they say, you can't choose your relatives, but you can choose your friends.
yeah. Tell me something about some interesting references with your friends. What you took away from them?
So I have, there are many. First, one big reference that I always have is about uh, how do you how do you nurture good friendships and good relationships. So one very very, I think, what do I say, very formative point that I always have is: are you able to give more than what you receive? For me, that is one kind of a filter for being a good human being. Uh, are you able to give more than what you receive? Are you do you some so mindfulness, does it come to you naturally? And many of these traits exist in people,
Sure.
and the various shades that you encounter them uh, with. So mindfulness, your ability to give uh, without questioning. And some friends are really so great that they won't question you as to why do you need it. Something like that, I think is for me extremely important, and validity kind of concept, uh, filter that I have. And I'm really, as I said, I'm really fortunate that uh, there are people in this world. Also, I think nobody, again, my own reference is, there's nobody who's bad in the world. It is how you take goodness out of that man is left to you. simply the principle of appreciative inquiry. What you seek is what you get. And so if you seek friendship, you get friendship. If you seek animosity, you get animosity. If you question, you get question. If you give probable answers, you get answers. Something like that. So that's something extremely powerful. So I always believe that there are always good people in the world. It's about you. You need to get best out of them. Uh, I have another favorite of mine, which is I spend my all time in human resources. I have this habit of judging a person in interview context. I'm talking,
Sure, sure.
and I make my decision in first two minutes. There have been also instances when people say, I tell my, let's say I'm on the panel that this is the right guy and that is not the right guy, and ultimately the person that I ticked off gets selected, and people ask me. Now, there are certain what do you say, traits, characteristics, body language, upbringing uh, is shown by a person when he interacts, when he even when he is not interacting with you. There are huge telltale signs about everybody that one can clearly see, visualize, and come to kind of a conclusion in terms of person and the personality. And to me, that has been very, very helpful. The second thing I have is I have humongous pictorial memory of people. I don't have memory of words, but I have pictorial memory. So I am a kind of Google to my friends. If they have to go somewhere in Nagpada in this gully, they will call me and say, "मैं यहाँ पे हूँ, यहाँ से कहाँ जाओ, वहाँ से कहाँ जाओ," things like that. I'm just saying some nuances of personality, and that's again helped me so much because when I interview somebody now, and if I've interviewed him 20 years back, I ask him, I think we have met somewhere. He says, no, sir, I don't think we have met anywhere. And you have a conversation, and then it comes. Remember in Dubai interview, I met you, or UK interview, I met you, or this interview in Falana company, you had met. Things like that.
Sanjay, a
Ashish,
quick one on this.
yeah,
A quick
sure.
one on this. And how often at this age, after having traveled this path, how often can someone like you even accept maybe I was not correct?
I keep that doing every day.
And
But
why?
you,
And why would you do that?
but you made a very valid point. There are two sides of us. One is the side which talks to the world, and one is the side which talks to yourself.
Wow.
Persona that talks to yourself constantly always tells you that you are not right or you're not, or you're not right or you're right, or this is the right way or that's not the right way. Persona which is facing outside as a facade, that facade sometimes restrains of accepting what internal self is telling you.
Sure.
Now, I can confide and confess. Sometimes I fall a prey to that.
Sure. Wow. Wow.
Sometimes I fall prey to that.
So Sanjay, this is something which I'm really passionate about. You see, the point that if we are playing big games, if we are trying to do something more with our life, we will slip.
Yeah,
But imagine the time we spend qualifying our slip ups, where what can be available is if you can admit to what went wrong and then go on.
correct. Correct.
Now, over a period of time in my life, as I have traversed through different fields. I've had numerous attempts at doing many things because I've been doing many things,
Of course.
and therefore also I've failed many times and made and mess ups many times. And the more I ruminate on the mess ups are when I'm thinking how to cover them up.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
other hand, when I'm able to take responsibility for it, and it's very difficult at that point, I will admit to you, very difficult. But once I've done it, there's freedom.
I know. But why it is difficult is again this so called track that you are walking on.
Yeah,
That track tells you, boss, if you accept, will you look foolish? You know,
exactly.
if you accept, you will people laugh at you. If you accept, you will be called a fall guy. So you're not living that track. And so you continue walking on the track and it doesn't let you become what you want to become. And so
In fact, that's I think that's one of the most beautiful things, especially now coming into this new reality.
yeah,
When a whole lot of people who are known to be experts, who knew what the way ahead was, for people like that to admit that we do not know the way ahead.
oh
All right,
yes,
to admit it. I mean, so the internal voice is saying that I don't know, but externally, the image that I want to portray is that I am supposed to be a leader, and I'm supposed to be told. And I have over the years discovered that um, when I'm okay with my weaknesses and I can admit it, I can then start building and creating something afresh, something truly, which takes me through the eye of the needle.
true. So Ashish, I'm going to flip this over to you now.
Yeah,
And I'm going to ask some questions that I always wanted to ask, and in our chat I never asked. But I'm
please.
first of all, I'm a big fan of what you do. I must admit, which is whether it is your acting or whether it is now your new role, as it were, in terms of improving life of people. Dhrokal is my all-time favorite. No wonder you got the national award. But somewhere in your life, there must have been some inflection point, right? How did you realize and when that was, and how did you realize this is now my jumping? Uh,
So the real thing, which is not to make it sounding any intelligent or anything. Uh, the inflection is always in hindsight. Uh, for me, I have just kept moving, and like most of us, we just keep moving, and just something which we began the conversation with. There's certain parameters that we want to create. For example, for me, it has always been very clear that I need to take care of the family. All right, middle class background, need to take care of parents, need to take care of family. So for me to work for a living was given. I'll work for my living. All right. I do not have somebody else's money to, don't have those things. So all that I've done through life is to find ways to generate work for myself. Right. So for me, I take that one step at a time, generating what can I work on today. Earlier it was Hindi films, then it became films in other languages. Now, over the last 6 years, apart from films, I also do conversations with organizations. So
correct.
I look at it as how can I best apply myself and create another thing in which I can add. The same actor who used to earlier only work in Hindi films started working in other films. Okay,
Right.
now the same person with the same qualities, the ability to communicate, we repurpose into somebody who comes into the world of communication and does whatever that I do. So for me, inflection is hindsight. It's more in a zone called what do I want to do today?
Yeah.
And how do
Yeah,
I find ways to do something today? And it could be anything. And for similarly for that reason, Sanjay, I have deep respect for people who do different things. I do not categorize, अरे यार देखो वो ये कर रहा है. I'm so proud if anybody is doing, putting in and thinking of different ways to do an honest day's work.
absolutely, absolutely. And because it's only one life, and
Yes.
everybody has 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
What you do out of that is, actually, I also want to kind of engage now. Next, I think 10 minutes left. Uh, if we don't talk about what is the current situation that the whole mankind is in, the COVID
Sure.
19, and I see it as this will be the reference point 100 years hence when people will judge the history. There'll be two phrases, AC and BC, before COVID and after COVID. Now, in after COVID era, and I heard this somewhere other day, I was chatting with somebody. They are saying the new leadership mantra is about 3H: head, heart, and hand. Head in terms of strategy, heart in terms of the values, and hand in terms of agile execution. Uh, but what has come to the fore more than anything, I, if I were to do triple H, then I would say 5 times H. There are 3 times H, which is about heart, and the rest two follow. If the heart is in order, then the head and the hand will automatically follow. And we saw in this entire episode of BC, or the current scenario, somewhere empathy, compassion was found wanting, whether it was migrant labor issue, whether in the organizational context. So will leadership learn anything out of this episode, this unprecedented time? And will we see a new emerging leadership that will come in? And you work with a lot of corporates. I'm sure you're talking to a lot of them even in this period. What is your view?
Sanjay, very clearly in this period, even in this period, there'll be some short-term measures and long-term measures. Short-term measures I liken a lot to knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing so COVID, if you ask anyone, say, what did you realize when you had COVID? The first thing about anything ki dhanda thap hua. First
Correct.
thing, यार धंधा ठप हुआ. अरे मरने की बात बाद में करता आदमी. कहता धंधा ठप हुआ. So let's be straight about this. Let's address the white elephant in the room. That
Yeah.
the first thing that pains anyone is जब वो पेट पे लात पड़ती है. Okay? Now, अब हम इसको अब जरा थोड़ा सा आराम से देखें, हम लोग देखें कि अब आप पेट पे लात पड़ती है तो मतलब if your life is going to be only about profit and
Yeah.
saving monies and getting more, that's when the heart gets displaced. And that's when actually
True.
the short-term game begins and ends. You and I, we all know of places and individuals and institutions which are about use and throw, and people do not want to remain there for too long. So this is
True.
truly, we have an opportunity in this place to actually get that this is one composite crisis which is being felt by the human spirit. The human spirit is dying at this point because we do not have hope. We are giving up on ourselves, and at this point, forget about what you see. Some headline things happening in filmdom. I promise you, my friend, such a lot of lives are being destroyed at this moment because they see no hope. And therefore, my personal take is that leadership has to kindle hope in people and really get
Fantastic.
that you're not alone. The
Fantastic.
idea is not to throw out people and like let go. The idea is to really get that this is a time to assimilate the pool where we start negotiating, renegotiating with ourselves. I'm telling you, I have renegotiated my terms of life with myself. So I have gotten that in this new realm, I'll have to work differently. I'll have to put in more hours. I'll have to charge less. Let's be straight about it. I'll have to renegotiate with myself. So the terms of references have to change, but I am very clear that the human being will have to be kept at the center of it. It is
Absolutely.
the human spirit which is going to help us maneuver through this path. This is not a
Yeah.
one-day thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's your
Beautiful.
take on this?
Very Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I kind of phrased this somewhere and I used it in one of my last webinar. If business understood force of love, there would be no recession. If business understood force of love, there would be no recession. The point is when push comes to shove, are you erring on human side or on the other side? For me, it decides the metal that you are made of.
Sure.
Because if there is no human life, what business are you going to do? Whom are you
And
going to deal with?
and Sanjay, here is one point which I think is very important, that we have to go more and more for all sides to get. You have to step out of the world of entitlement.
Yes,
You see, we have over the years built in too many rights and entitlements into how we are going to function, how we are going to work, how we are going to behave, too much entitlement. And that entitlement does not allow us to be agile enough to deal with the realities of the new present. So
beautiful.
therefore, the openness for us, and for me, very clearly, Sanjay, as you know, as we run Avid Miner, for us, it's very clearly we survive this period, we have a chance to have an extraordinary success. What we are speaking to organizations is that you really need. And now let's put our heads together, reassemble our abilities, recalibrate our working styles,
Absolutely.
reposition our
Absolutely.
qualities, and create innovative products for organizations, for the world, for your clients. Because at this point, people want to be heard. So
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
go with
Yeah.
things that you
Absolutely.
used to.
Yeah.
So therefore, the heart
You know,
is so needed that you're listening to what is it that people want.
correct. You beautifully said this. Recalibration is the word that I also had in mind. Because now is the time to take a pause, reflect, and course correct.
Wow.
But my worry is what, Ashish, and I'm being frank, that everybody is waiting for a vaccine to come.
Hmm.
The longer the vaccine is delayed, you will see a behavioral change happening in human beings. If the vaccine just comes up the corner, my worry is we'll go back to our normal self, which should not happen. Which
Well, I will
really,
give you a
really,
bad news. I'll give you a bad news and a good news, whichever way you want to say.
yeah,
So one of the events that we are creating is something called Living Forward. So the first episode is happening tomorrow morning with Joydeep Roy, and we are talking ensuring the future, and it's all going to be, uh, you know, actionable suggestions for living forward. All right. So as I was curating the next Sunday's session today with a health expert, I
yeah,
was given a news which wasn't very good, that this vaccine is going to take a while. And she said, Uma Isola, she's going to be our guest in Sunday week of Living Forward. And she said, not only is the vaccine going to take a while, who knows by that time some other thing is also going to come up.
oh gosh,
Right? So let
yeah,
us get one thing very, very clear, and that's something which I really wanted to communicate. Let's get
yeah.
the heart in systemically.
Oh yeah, say it again.
Let the heart be in its place systemically, not just for this period. Because
Beautiful, beautiful.
any actions we are taking, if we are saying is just for this period, my friend, this period is going to be long, and variations of this, SARS, MARS, and all those things are all variations of this corona. All right.
Yeah,
So I really think that this is an opportunity for us to create an inflection for ourselves forever, saying that
correct.
whatever that we are putting in place, that the The humanity that you got from your village, the humanity I got from my theater, the humanity that we got while growing up, this is an opportunity for us to make it systemic and let
Yes.
all human beings know that we need to rethink that this was our only role. We are only doing it at this price. No, things will have to change. So let us all dance with this new scenario, because
Beautiful.
heart will have to be, the lub-dub of the heart is not a singular
Yeah.
heart. It's a lub-dubs, many heart lub-dubs. And each of these lub-dubs make an organization, make a country, and make a world.
Sure. Reimagining, I think, is the mantra. Recalibration. I just remembered in Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs, we were talking about number four and number five, self-actualization or something like that. Suddenly, with this one stroke, we are back to number one and number two needs: safety,
Safety.
hunger. All that has come to the fore. Now, leadership has to recalibrate itself to understand this and deal with it with that approach. Now, I need to start here, and I can't deal at the self actualization need. Are some of the things that really, really are exciting me as we are looking into the AC period after Corona period.
So thank you, Sanjay. This was an interesting conversation, and we keep having such conversations on our own. I was happy that we could have it here, and this is also going to be a test for all of us, that how, as you said, the roti kapda makan has come back as
Yeah,
something that we need, and we're going to find digital solutions for that. We who had aspirations much beyond, how
yeah,
leadership is also going to say that even that is now a factor. It is not something which was basic. The basics come back. And if we
yeah,
can really say that, how will it be if high on empathy and high on productivity can be something
yeah,
which
yeah,
leadership can, really bring forth for each one of us as
yeah,
systemic, so that organizations are very clear that they cannot grow without human beings, and human beings are also very clear that their
yeah.
past way of working will not be enough. All right.
Fabulous, fabulous,
So,
fabulous.
so wonderful. And on this note, I look forward to meeting you soon, my dear friend.
Likewise,
Now,
this is my favorite for at least for the viewers. Let me repeat this. Whenever there is conversation with Ashish, it's a master class. And I go back with bag full of learnings. So was today.
you're a kind
Thank you, my
person.
friend. You're always energizing me and many others in the corporate world. Keep doing that, keep shining, and let's catch up soon. Thank you and
Yes, and
namaskar.
I will thank you so much. I will just meet you in a bit. I'll just say bye to everybody. So, dear friends, this was again a very interacting with Sanjay. He kind of gives me insights in his kindness, in the way he's kind, and it is amazing. And I go back learning such a lot from him, and also insights about the human being that I am. So I was happy to share that with you tomorrow at 11 a.m. That is Sunday, 11 a.m. I'm beginning a new show. It's called Living Forward. I'm beginning it with another very dear friend of mine, Joydeep Roy. He's a partner with PwC, and he's going to talk insurance for the new insurance, the new future. And he's talking about actually actionable things, how each one of us, whichever field that we are in, how can we be working in a productive way in this new future. So look forward to meeting you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thank you so very much for joining us. Al Shukran Bandhu, Al Shukran Zindagi. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much. And to let you know, the next Saturday on the same show, we have Mr. Rajesh Jani joining us from Dell. And I look forward to having a conversation with him next Saturday with Mr. Rajesh Jani. Till then, take care of yourself, stay well, stay safe, and really stay bright. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Have a phenomenal Sunday. See you tomorrow morning at 11.